Hello and welcome back to your favourite podcast, Insane in the Membrane.
Insane in the Membrane.
Greetings, everybody. Welcome back. Before we get into it, as usual, we have a lot of admin to get through, a lot of things to remind you of. One of those things is that we're planning more live events, including some free ones. Yeah, that's right. The last one went so well that we're going to put on some more events. And so what we need you to do, for priority access to live stream and in real life tickets, pop your email address into our mailing list now at darkhorsedigital.co.uk, and we will let you know, first of all, where it's all happening. You get priority ticket information before it all goes out to the other world. So do that for us. That'd be fantastic. Because the last one was so good. The last one was great with Clinton Baptiste and Jen Brister, Amy Cooper, Vic Slayton, and my good self. And we had Big Knobs and we had producer Paul manning the screens. It was really good fun. So we're going to do it again. We'll let you know when that is. So just pop us your email address onto the mailing list and we'll do that. That'd be fantastic. Also, this podcast is supported by those wonderful boys at Save Our Souls Clothing, Mark and Stacey. Good boys doing good things with their ethically sourced t-shirts, their vegan friendly ink even. I mean, you can't get better than that. You cannot get better than that. Well, you can actually, because if you go to their website, sosclothing.co.uk/membrane, and use the 15% discount code membrane, that will give you money off, like I say, 15%, not only on our t-shirts and hoodies, but across the entire range, their stuff as well. You will get 15% off all of your purchases if you use the code membrane right across the store. What's not to love about that? Summer is here, kind of. It's going to warm up very soon. So get yourself some decent hoodies and tees from those good boys that Save Our Souls Clothing. Hell yeah. Now, we've also got to tell you that I will be at the Cambridge Comedy Festival this weekend. I'm going to be emceeing the compilation shows Friday, Saturday. I'm going to be doing Vic Slayton's Comedy Arcade podcast record on Sunday. We, Insane in the Membrane, are doing a live podcast record. Producer Paul will be there. And we've got our brilliant guest, Scott Bennett. Brilliant Scott Bennett, fantastic comedian. He'll be there. He'll be our guest. We're doing it live from the Cambridge Comedy Festival. I'm going to be there from Friday to Sunday. I'm going to be doing all manner of things, solo show, all sorts. So pop yourselves along and come and have a good time with your pal. All right, your old pal Wilson. Come on. So this week's this is the second one because we've got two. We had a bonus one. We've got this one. This is Marcus Brigstocke, and I have loved Marcus Brigstocke for many, many years. I've always thought he was a brilliant comedian, and I knew he'd be a lovely guy, and he really did disappoint. Like, we kind of know each other vaguely. Like, he taught me how to ski when we were away in the Alps. Well, that comes up in the episode anyway. We'll talk about that. But he's a really nice guy. We really got stuck in. There's a lot of topics that we covered that I was surprised that we actually got into. It's a brilliant episode. I think you're going to enjoy it. He really is a smashing dude. So, coming up in a minute is Marcus Brigstocke.
A podcast from producer Paul.co.uk.
Insane in the Membrane.
Yeah, you had a mad day yesterday. When you said, well, I've got 90 minutes in between getting back and then ending late, and I was like, I can't expect you to just jump on. I know you would have done, but
I would have, of course. But I mean, that was me coming back from Leeds from Steph McGovern's show. Yeah. And honestly, when that came in last year, and when it came in, I was like, yes, of course I'll do it. No question. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. At the moment, of course. No worries. I went up and I did it. And I was thinking on the way up, well, half a year ago, if this had been offered, I'd have been like, yeah, maybe once if I'm near Leeds. And now I'm like, oh, yes, of course. But not like, even setting the pandemic aside, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And it's been a godsend. It really has. It's like a regular job. What it is, Rich, is going somewhere where it matters if I don't show up. It matters if I'm late. All of that kind of stuff. It's like all of that structure disappearing out of my life was probably more unsettling than the absolutely crushing financial worries that we've all had for the last year and a half. So I was whizzing back from the last Steph McGovern show in this block, then it'll start up again in the autumn, hopefully.
Brilliant, mate. She's lovely as well, isn't she, Steph? Excellent.
And then antenatal class.
Well, yeah, mate, this is it, mate.
She's one of those people she's like Philip Schofield, where the whole point is she makes it look so easy.
Yeah.
And it definitely isn't. She's a properly good egg, Steph McGovern.
But it's funny when you see it. I did some warm-up the other day, and when you see what goes on behind the scenes, like we see the magic at the end, like they say the magic of television, and then when you actually see what goes on, like they have to do they have to redo bits, go back over like the odd line here and there, and then they go, right, earlier on we missed this line, you've got to go back, and then out of nowhere Richard Ayoade had to just say, and that was 2 points, and you're like, no, not connected to anything, and you go, yeah, and to keep smiling through all of that is it takes a skill that I think not a lot of people have, really. You know?
No, I think it's true. I think it's definitely true, and I'm also like, you would think by now, given how long I've been a stand-up, that I would understand the connection between work and tiredness.
Yeah.
But I've never allowed it. Weirdly, I've just never sort of allowed it in my life. So I would go in the early days when I was club comic, working every weekend. I would often try and get back for the kids. So I'd drive to Leicester, I'd do a show, and I'd come back that night. So I was here for the kids, and then go back to Leicester the next night and do that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, there and back. And on Sunday, be like, whatever we were doing. And then I'd be like a bit grumpy and a bit dysfunctional, but I genuinely never joined up. Like, I'm unbelievably tired. Because it's not, I think what it is it's not like tired that you need to go to sleep. It's that you need rest, So, but I have really noticed, like, going to Leeds, and even though it's just sitting in a train, which has been lovely, it's knackering. I've either just got older and noticed it more, or I.
Well, I think that's it. It's that people don't realise, like, driving, for example, is mentally exhausting, and so you've just. I mean, and what we do as well, I know it's, people go, oh yeah, but you're just comedians. You go, yeah, but it's stressful. We have to, when we get there, we have to make sure if we die on stage, we could ruin someone's night, and it's awful dying on stage as well. So there's that stress. And then like you said, you're like, right, I've got to get back for the kids. So you're back in the car. So then you can't remember. I remember once driving to a gig, and then I was at the gig like half an hour back in the car, and it's about a 3.5 hour drive there, 3.5 hour back. I had a moment I couldn't remember which way I was going because I was so tired.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And there's that thing now where they shut motorways. They don't take them down to one lane. They just close them. They go, well, the motorway's shut for the next 3 junctions. Good luck. Can I just say, I really noticed a really beautiful and touching moment of sincerity and humility there from a stand-up where you went, if I die, I could ruin someone's night. And like, that's great, man. That's really great. Because that's the opposite of if I die, I'll feel terrible for a week. Like, I won't forgive myself. I could ruin someone else's night. And I genuinely noticed it because that's the biggest turnaround in my stand-up. So I had the whole, like, you start off and it's all just a wild ride, and you're building momentum and all the rest of it. And then you probably pass through maybe the difficult spell of trying to work out what you really want to do. People call it finding your voice or whatever. I don't really like that, but like, what do you want to do as a comedian? And then the popping out the other side for me is coming back to that crucial thing of like, I'm not there for me. I'm there for them. I'm their show. I'm less important than they are, even though I'm the one showing off, prancing around with a microphone in my hand, And that thing, like when I do corporates or any sort of like a private booking of any sort, of connecting with that idea of going, well, there's a chance here I might be one of the best things about their night out. And it's probably a sign of better mental well-being on my part, but it's also just way better. It's way more enjoyable, and it leaves the sort of the scope for damage after a very good gig or a very bad gig, both of which are capable of ruining me. it lessens the potential for damage from all of that just by going, well, it's less about me than I think.
Yeah, and I think it does bother me, obviously, that dying on stage. I did a course recently to some newer acts. And I was saying to them, I said, you'll get it in your head that you're driving away from Wakefield or wherever, and you think that there's now a poster on the wall in Wakefield with your face on it, and everyone walks past it and spits it and goes, that bloke there, he's the worst person that's ever been to Wakefield. We hate that man. I said, chances are they couldn't pick you out of a lineup the next day. But at that moment, it will stay in your head and it will bother you. Of course it will. Because you have empathy and you give a shit about them and you, and it's a really strange thing we do, but we do it. I can't even explain why I do it. It isn't like during the lockdown, people going, "Oh, we need the attention. It's narcissism." I'm like, I don't think it is narcissism. I don't like. It's not. The true meaning of the word narcissism isn't me just wanting to stand in people, in front of people, making them laugh. Narcissism is something awful. No.
No, narcissism would be you doing stand-up alone to the mirror because you think you're brilliant. No, I don't really think that the instinct, the drive towards it is wholly healthy, but nor do I think it's a negative, not in my life. And it's interesting, before the pandemic came along, I was talking to my therapist about the tapering off that I'm experiencing in my career, right? And it's kind of like, I had my own TV show for a while. I was 100% on the list of people that get booked for shit. I wasn't overlooked for anything for ages. And then a tapering off begins, and it happens, and you become less bookable on TV and stuff like that, and it is painful. Whether it's just or not is neither here nor there. I mean, it's helped massively by being married to an absolutely brilliant comedian. So when that question comes up, well, why aren't I getting booked? Well, because my wife is. Quite rightly. She's younger than me. She's brilliant. Quite rightly. That's what's supposed to happen. Comedy's not supposed to fix itself on a person and then stay with them forever. It should be about what's not totally new, but newish. I'm interested in that. So anyway, I was talking to my therapist about the sort of tapering off and how painful I found it, and whether, as I get older, do I want to be doing that thing of coming down the motorway in the middle of the night and, maybe the lanes are closed and all of that. And then the pandemic came along and took it away. And I'm like, well, that's helped. Because, I do want this. I do want this, actually. You take it away from me and, I really want this. It's a wonderful thing to do. It's not always easy, but it's a wonderful thing to do. It's brilliant. It's magic.
You're right. The pandemic really, because before I was getting a bit jaded with it all, and not necessarily I love doing the comedy. I think it was all the bullshit around it that was getting to me a little bit, and waiting on money from promoters and stuff like that. And that is like, if I get paid when did the gig, I'd be fine. So there's all these little things that were playing on my mind, and then this hit, and it all got taken away. And as you say, and then afterwards, I really know I used to really love that. I used to really love sitting in a petrol station at 3 a.m. Wondering where the detour has gone. Like, now I've run out of signs. Just standing going. I remember being in. It was in Leeds or something like that. I remember we pulled up at this roundabout, and there was one car outside, and we all wound our windows down and just looked at each other and went, "Any ideas? Any ideas at all? Where are we going now?" Because all the signs just stopped. But that's interesting what you say about your. Because I know Noel Gallagher said this. I reference him quite a bit because it's interesting what he says. Not at the minute, he's saying some weird shit, but when he talks about the industry, and he's talking about, at one point or another, the industry will be all about you, and you're the centre of it all. Everyone's running around you, and then eventually it'll kind of move along and it move on. And the trick is not to chase it. That's when desperation sets in. But it must be hard, right? Because I know of you from that, and so. It must be hard for you, and to be the centre of everything, and then it kind of moves along, and of course that plays on your mind because you think it's something you've done.
Yeah, exactly. it is. You could argue it's something you've done, in that. Can you? I don't know. I was thinking of Stuart Lee, who's enjoyed arguably the most successful and productive part of his career much later on, despite, from most people's point of view, actually making incredible work for a long time before. I don't know. That thing about chasing it's really interesting though, because I think Noel Gallagher's right about that. Like, don't chase it, because actually you'll look a fool if you do anyway. And look, I don't mean look a fool in terms of your own pride, but if you look a fool, you become much less bookable. Yeah.
That desperation. Yeah.
Like Peter, it's no, that's a bit frantic, but at the same time, there is an element of chasing it, and there is at least a sort of an element of just be willing. Andy Smart, who I adore, who's, Comedy Store Players. Yeah. His book's great, by the way, A Hitch in Time. Wonderful. He put a thing, someone said one of those internet meme things like, in 4 words, the best advice you can give. And his was 2 sentences: say yes, learn later. And that's Andy Smart all through. Like, we went off and did the Cresta run together, the infamous bobsleigh track that's killed people. And they said on your first run you should come in at around 70 seconds. Around about 70 seconds. If you're much slower than that, you're too cautious. Quicker than that, you're being reckless. And I did it in 73. And Andy came in at 59 seconds.
Just go straight down.
Like, oh my God. And his eyes were like saucers. But that thing, like, say yes, learn later, there's an arrogance to that. Of course there is. And you don't want to ruin someone's night or whatever by not knowing what you're doing, or ruin anything else, or take a ministerial position and learn later, But that thing is just say yes and see what happens. Be willing for it to go wrong, or to walk away and go, well, it wasn't that. That's not the one. But saying yes, I think is crucial, because you never know, do you? Never know what you might.
Well, this is it. This is someone else said that the other day. And I'm like, I always say even though I'm petrified. Like TV warm up. Every time I've done it, I've gone, I'm not going to do that again. I don't think I'm very good at it. And then it'll come up again. And I go, yeah, go on then. I'll give it another go. And then every time I walk away from, oh God, I was just asking them about supermarkets. What was I doing? But yeah, I think that just goes to show what kind of a life we've had as well, because we've said yes to lots of things. I got to go skiing. I'd never skied before. I met you, and then you taught me how to ski, which is something I'd never. I said that. I said to someone, I said, Marcus Brigstocke taught me how to ski. And he's like, what? What a mad sentence. And that's because I said yes to going in the first place.
Yeah. We had a lovely day. It was great. And you fell into the pit around the base of a tree, and it was really, really difficult to get you out. It was at that point I decided to take a photo. We had a lovely day. And the thing is, I guess, yes, I mean, there's the say yes of that particular thing and anything like it, I think. But also, like, for me, like, because winter sports, skiing and snowboarding specifically, you've seen, right? Yeah. It lights me up so much. And I'm not not a big sports guy. By the way, I watched my first ever football match.
What? You've never watched one before?
I've never watched a football match in my life. I've seen bits, obviously, but I sat and I watched the whole thing, England v Denmark, the whole thing, including the special encore they did, the second act. Wonderful. So I'm not a big sports guy, but I do love the winter sports. And actually, like, going skiing with you that day and seeing you get, like, noticeably, measurably better at it, so that you were, like, often nailing it, like linking together loads of turns and not falling over, is to me the same as, like, coming off the top of a big hill and that big surge of adrenaline, you know?
It was lovely. It was a really nice day. It's a lovely day. But this is it. Have you felt, because I know I've been doing this 17 years, and there's been a lot of sacrifices. There's been a lot of weddings I've not been to, and that was something in the lockdown. I thought back. I'm like, I probably could have stayed at that wedding. I didn't have to shoot off like I did, but I was so hell bent on the gigs. The gigs were everything. but it's meant that relationships have fallen apart. It's meant I've got a good relationship with my kids, but not. No, I think it is a good relationship with my kids. They didn't really, but I sort of had to squeeze them in, and I had to squeeze because everything was comedy. And I think was that the same with you? It's kind of you're just so in it, and it's not even about fame. It's about I just really want to do this. I want this to work. You know?
Yeah. It costs a lot. It just does. It costs a lot, and the deal is such an obvious one to me. It's like, yes, of course, the price is worth it. And I'm the same, man. You know, like my brother, I've got a lot of cousins, loads of cousins, thousands of us. We're not even Catholic. We're just breeders, you know. And but genuinely, like the last big Brigstocke family gathering we had, there were more than 60 of us, and not everyone was there. Crazy. But my brother went to all of the weddings, and so he knows all my cousins and their partners really, really well. And I didn't go to any of them because, in fact, I probably, and this is really awful, I probably didn't reply either because I was doing the thing you do as a comic, which is go, well, I mean, all right, that's on a Saturday. I mean, I haven't got a gig in, but I'm hoping for one. Because, I mean, I guess it comes back to that idea of when the spotlight's on you as well. There is a spot in your life where the bookers are going, oh, can we get you? Because you were great last time or whatever. And then you're like, well, yeah, great. I like to be liked. I want to be wanted. And sure enough, you know, when that spotlight moves on and leaves you behind and you're like, hey, you're like, well, I'm pretty glad I said yes to the gigs. Not because it made a lot of money particularly, but because with a few exceptions along the way, I really enjoyed them. Yeah. I love it. I really love it. There's a thing that happens the moment I step up on stage that is unmatched by most other things in my life. And, you know, as someone who's had lifelong problems with addiction, it does seem to me, even though I've probably worked too much sometimes, that the way in which comedy has to ration itself, like you can only do a certain number of shows. I mean, Jimmy Carr's pushing it. Jimmy does a lot of shows. I'm astonished constantly by his work ethic. But it's kind of limited. You can only do that many shows. But I'm really glad of it, man. I'm glad about the choices, not all the choices, but certainly the choices in comedy that I've made, including the mistakes. You know,
you mentioned.
And I'm glad a lot of what I did early days wasn't filmed.
I think a few people have said that.
Oh man! Imagine starting now.
Every single minute that you're on stage, it's just somewhere on a little video somewhere. Oh my God! I know.
Yep.
You mentioned addiction,
Gary,
and that was interesting. So has that been a problem throughout your life? That was a thing.
Yeah, my whole life, man. My whole life. I went into rehab when I was 17. So, so the intervention for me was around my eating disorder. So I've always, I mean, from the age of 8, I've been a compulsive overeater. And people think when you say that, or some people think when you say that, like, what, likes is nosh. And I do like my nosh. I really like my nosh. But it's not that. It's eating when you don't want to. That's what compulsion is, you know. That's like, we all have that where you're like, you know, if you're in that garage on the way back from Leeds in the middle of the night, standing there going, well, it's either a grab bag of hula hoops or it's what they're calling a family pack, but this is a long drive. You know, that's different. But I mean like proper mad, like eating out of bins, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, proper craziness, stealing from friends and family. In a way that you know is shameful, or you can feel the sense of shame in yourself when you're doing it, but the urge for it is bigger than that. And then there's stuff about being overweight, which, you know, as an adult, I'm definitely sort of more at peace with. I still have some difficulties with it. It feels uncomfortable, but I think mostly those are long shadows cast by being clinical diagnosis, morbidly obese teenager. Being that heavy when you're a child is problematic because there are demands on what you have to do. So it was that got me into rehab. And then I went in there, and there's these questions you have to fill in, like 30 questions that will tell you whether you are or aren't an alcoholic or a drug addict or blah, blah, blah. On food, I got 29 out of 30. And by the way, more than 10, you're an addict. More than 20, you're in trouble. And like more than 25, you're doing very well to read the form. And I got like 29 on food, and I got, I think, 26 on alcohol, which I was 17, and about 24 or so on drugs. So I got sober from drugs and alcohol more than 30 years ago, and I've never relapsed on that. But food's more complicated because you have to deal with it.
I was going to say that because it's with drinking drugs. Yeah, we can sort of understand what the compulsion is. It's that because it gets you ramped up and you feel euphoric. And whereas with food, you feel good. You've eaten it.
Food does that to me. Food 100% does that to me, man. Like 100%. There's the sort of emotional end of it, which is obviously like when you're a baby, you get breastfed first and then weaned, and then you have that long process of eat this up, aren't you good, mummy made you this, daddy got you this, if you then you can if you eat this you can have this, or he's such a good eater, good boy, eat up, lots of approval, lots of love. And there's nothing like, my parents didn't do anything wrong, like just normal amounts of that, but in a bit of a broken addict brain that got very sad very, very young. That love thing, the love connection with food, was just a bit overdone for me, or completely overdone for me. And I still have it. I'm such a provider with food, and it brings me such joy to share, to make food and share it with people, and I like that. I don't, I've no problem with it. But so there's that part of it. But then there's also like, Christmas afternoon, when you lie there, and that's an opiate buzz.
Really?
Like it's the same part of your brain that's like that's got that sort of deep, satisfied, heavy, lying like a python trying to digest it kind of thing. So there's that, and then there's also like, although it's subtle compared to sort of cocaine or anything like that, the high from in the kinds of, the amount of sugar that I would have when I was really bang at it. Like I remember one Easter when I think it was only about 12 or something, I was given this giant Mars bar, which contained 8 king-size Mars bars inside it as an Easter present. And
just one after the other?
Just all of them. I ate 8 king-size Mars bars, aged 12, one after another, and then went and had lunch. So it was like, it was broken. My brain was just broken where all that stuff was concerned. I couldn't, couldn't put it back in line. And so I got help with it, and I was very rigid for the first maybe 3-4 years. I ate 3 meals a day, nothing in between. I ate my meals at pretty much the same time every day. I didn't calorie count, but I stopped eating sugar and white flour. And I was like on that for 4 years. And I was about 24 stone. I went to 11 stone in 7 months. Wow. So I lost 13 stone in 7 months, aged 18. Yeah. That weirdly, like that will also make me
this
crazy.
is it. Yeah.
I was nuts. I also fell over all the time after them because my center of gravity was onto cock, because I was like, and also like my leg muscles were huge because they'd spent all my life carrying around 20 something stone, and that doesn't all just disappear straight away, So if I ran upstairs, which I would, because I was like, my body was just like a wire, just this amazing, powerful thing, and I go up a flight of stairs, and then my body just goes, sorry, no head blood. And I go over. It was great, man. It was a wild time, and I got crazy into clubbing then in the early 90s.
Perfect time.
Yeah, it was great. It was good times, man. It was good times. But addiction's just there in my life. It's there in my life. A few 4.5 years ago, just over 4.5 years ago, I stopped porn. Okay. I cut porn out of my life 100%. And like, I won't, even if I on like Facebook or whatever kind of bathing suit stuff, I just skim past it, because I looked at what it does to the human brain, and then what it does to an addict inclined brain, and the amount of time I spent alone, and then the amount of time I spent looking at porn, not for any sexual reason, just looking at porn because it makes your brain feel something, little dopamine fire every time. So I went, that's it. Sadly, it's on the list. So I put it on the list. But porn's like alcohol, you know, like you can just stop. You could just stop. It doesn't mean you have to stop having sex.
I think it does. I think it does affect
helped
your sex life. Because you just become desensitized to everything. I know I had that for a bit. I remember when I was married. I remember my lovely ex-wife coming in, and I'd shut the laptop, and then we did sort of like went about our day and did this, did that, and then I think we were in bed that night, and then she said, "I've got to talk to you about something." I'm like, "Okay." So when I came in earlier, and you shut the laptop, like, what's going on? Are you having an affair? And I went, no, God, no, I'm looking at porn and I don't want to. And it just kind of opened up this whole thing. I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something, because I'm not even playing with myself. I'm just like, oh, not that. No, not that. Yeah.
Just staring at it.
And it's,
That's it's dopamine, man. So, the human brain has evolved to fire a small amount of dopamine into your brain every time you register a potential sexual partner. This is true for men and for women, but it's particularly true for men. Small little bit of dopamine, the prep drug, be ready. This could be sex. This could be sex. This could be sex. And we are not capable of looking at an image on the screen and differentiating between, no, this isn't sex. This is a person or 50 people behind the laptop screen. And the way that porn is structured is guided by our human instinct, but like page after page after page opens. I mean, a lot of them are like, click on something, it opens 10 other windows. Each of them have 10 windows in. And so your brain is just getting this like dopamine overload. And when you pull away from that, it's really hard to be happy, let alone sexual. It's just genuinely really hard to be happy. And when people talk about, kids and porn, their worry seems to be that, that they'll stumble over some German, Japanese. I don't know what it is about people who came second in World War II, but all they like a bit of filth, don't they? But
that seems extreme.
Some like really niche, some really niche, messed up stuff. And you're like, and when I say messed up, I'm like it's up to you, isn't it? But for kids, that is a worry. But the worry for me as a parent is not about that. It's not about the specifics so much of what they see, but this dopamine thing, which I also have with my phone. Like I've stopped looking at any porn for like over 4 years, and it's been great, man. There was genuinely like a feeling of clarity that I got afterwards, and of well-being. It was painful to begin with, but a feeling of clarity and a deep gratitude, like a part of me came back. The same is also true of my relationship with my phone generally, and that I'm not quite ready to address.
But I think a lot of people have got that. It's that I do feel a sense of achievement if I wake up in the morning, do other things, and then I look at social media. And it doesn't happen very often. Every now and again, I'll manage it. I'm about to spring out of bed and do something. And then it's like, oh, I haven't looked at my phone yet. I haven't checked my messages. And then I'm back in it. And then there's that sadness comes back. I'm like, oh, I'm doing this again now, am I? All day, just skimming through. Yeah. There's nothing, you're not even looking at it. And again, it's like, you're not missing anything. You're just in it. And I think there's a misunderstanding when people say about addiction, where they go, oh, you just really like doing stuff that you really like. No, it's more than that. Like you say, it's the compulsion. You're doing it. You don't even want to do it.
Yeah.
You're going, that's
the thing. Like I would never say to someone, and people often ask me, oh, how do I stop drinking? Or how do I drink less? Or, da. And I'm like, well, for Christ's sake, don't unless you need to. Like, don't drink less. Drink with people. I really like, and it's taken time, but I really like being around people who are drinking. I don't like showing up somewhere where people are already drunk. I hate that. It's awful. But being around people as they get pissed is wonderful. It's great. I just go with them. You know, like, I don't drink. There's nothing in the things I'm doing, really. But it's just like, as their social inhibitors get dialed down, so do mine. Because I'm like, well, why not just go with them? So I would always say to anyone, like, you know, as someone who's had to stop a lot of stuff in my life, I'd say, like, don't stop unless you definitely need to. And the same with the phone and social media. Like, I really enjoy it. I see so much stuff during the pandemic, especially. What I've seen is loads of people who I'd much rather be in a room with, but loads of them making me laugh or making me think or pissing me off. Any of that, you know, I'll take any of it, man. Yeah. And you're right. Like, it's the difference between compulsion and, you know, overdoing it. I can overdo it on tons of things, but if I really don't want to be doing it and I'm still doing it, that's a big problem. Because also then there's the whole secrecy thing. You know, like, I would think that most men, and plenty of women too, actually, have snapped their laptops shut when a partner's come in the room because they're looking at porn. And it's a pretty mild secret. It's not very difficult to say, I was looking at porn, that's fine. But basically, if you're not being honest with someone who you love, when they express any love or affection for you, if you have a secret, any significant secret between you and them, it's like a deflector shield.
You're right.
And they'll go like, I love you. And somewhere, even if it's not conscious, your brain goes, yeah, but you don't know what I did. You don't know what you know what I am. You don't know how I lived today or yesterday or what I did last night. And it's like a deflector shield. So when people talk about being unlovable or feeling unloved, they are. Not really, but they are, because any love that's expressed, any affection that's expressed for them is like just bounced off them. It's like a laminate. It's like a laminate on a human being. So I'm very, like, I've no secrets with my wife, you know, like scrupulously no secrets with my wife. And it's really, 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 really important to me, because I've gone a long way in to messing up relationships with people who I still loved, and couldn't understand why what I was experiencing was a profound sense of loneliness, even though I was married to him or whatever, you know, like profound, overwhelming sense of detachment and loneliness or whatever. And it wasn't my fault per se, but it was my behavior, you know, so I'm very scrupulous about that.
It does
it's really
make
important.
a difference, doesn't it? It really does. It's that I know that I've been the same in past relationships. I've talked about it on here, being, you know, I've cheated on people and I've been dishonest and I've done. It was never like, oh, look at me, I'm running around doing this and doing that. I was doing things I didn't even know why I was doing them. So I'm like, why am I doing this? I love this person. Why am I fucking around? Because I like that person as well. What am I doing? All I'm doing is causing upset and pain and sadness to people that like me. And I didn't. And it made no sense.
And it's also why sharing that secret, like having an affair with someone. So I was married, I had an affair, and having that secret with someone will create a frenzied connection with them that feels nuts, because it is true that they are the only person who knows you at that moment. They're the only person. They might know you're married or you're in a relationship or whatever, and then you have this insane closeness with them. And that's what I experienced, and couldn't understand why, whilst my moral code was telling me, and you know, my heart was telling me too, well, be close with your wife. You still love her. She's a great person. You know, this is nuts. But that, it couldn't compete with the feeling I got when I was with the person that I was having the affair with, because it was our crazy, intense little world.
I think it's
so obvious. And when I was in it, when I was in it, you could have sat me down and explained, you could have shown me the graphs and done the science and all the rest of it and gone, Marcus, it's this. That is what's happening. And I'd have been like, yeah, but I love her.
You just get caught up in, because there's stuff you haven't dealt with from the past, and there's something about you that you haven't dealt with. And I remember going out with a girl years ago, and she sat me down. She just kept catching me talking to other women, mucking around. And then one day she said, we're going to watch a film today. And I'm like, all right then. And we watched Alfie. You know, we watched Michael Caine, Alfie. And she sat there and watched that. And then she just went, that's going to be you. If you don't stop fucking around and upsetting everybody, this is what you're going to end up like. And I went, yeah, but I'm not that. And it really, you know.
And also, look how well dressed he is.
He may be lonely, but that's a sharp suit.
What? I'll be a slightly older Michael Caine. All right, I'll take that.
Yeah.
Wow, what a thing, man. She was pretty smart.
And she just went, look, she goes, you're smart. There's elements of you that's brilliant. You're brilliant, but you are just getting in your own way, you absolute dickhead. And you know. Yeah. But like, I mean, I think that life is predominantly about getting in your own way. You know, like you mentioned just then about like stuff from your past that, you know, that you carry with you. So I do a lot of stuff for myself and with others, for people in recovery from addiction, right? Work with people all the time. And most people are looking for that thing. They're like, so what happened? Oh, you went to boarding school, did you, when you were 7? Okay, cool. Yeah, it'll be that then. Or you had a Nancy uncle, or you blah, 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 blah. And it's all true and it's all important. But the reality for me is that the stuff that's hurt me the most and has caused the most lasting harm in my life is my own behaviour. And it's not I haven't killed someone or anything like that. What's happened is every day for long periods of time, I've done slightly isolating, slightly shameful things. Yeah. Just slightly, and just adjusted the narrative about myself. And the reason most addicts, you know, do whatever they do, go and see a prostitute on a Wednesday, sex addict, I mean, go and see a prostitute on a Wednesday, is because they saw one on Monday. And it's a secret and they feel shit about it and they're isolated. How do they feel better? Well, they go and see another one on Wednesday. Someone who's like addicted to amphetamines or whatever it may be, why do they want to do it again? They know the harm it causes. Well, they do it not because something awful happened when they were a kid. They do it because they did it yesterday and they feel like shit today. And the debt's worse and the problems are worse and their friends have started to pull away from them. Much more so with alcohol, definitely. Any of these isolating, shaming behaviours, it's like... And I don't mean that to be like any sort of finger wagging. I think, for me at least, like that's where the great hope lies. It lies in the fact that you have within you have the capacity to change your own narrative, to change your own behaviour. It's really hard. But when we talk now, and there's loads of it, and I think it's really helpful and good. But when I see people talk about mental health online, and you're not talking about mental health, you're talking about mental illness. It's not the same. Health is health.
Health is health. What you got, mate, is mental illness, right? And that's all right. The good news is it's fixable. But sometimes when people are saying, I've got some mental health problems or mental health issues, and I see others going like, well, just, you know, if you need a day of doing nothing under the duvet and all the rest of it, and the lists of don't tell depressed people to go for a walk. I'm like, yeah, I know. And yet also, having been there several times in my life, shit started to change. Not when someone told me, but when someone went, I'm coming for a walk with you. You know, like fucking do something. For me, like, and I know what my whole view of everybody's mental health issues is tainted by my own experience because I'm arrogant and but I mean I don't mean that in a particularly bad way, but genuinely, like, the solution to my problems has been action. It's been action. It just has. It's been about doing what you're going to do, you know, what you're going to do. And so I do often wrongly go, you've got to do something. You've got to do something. And the reality, Rich, is some people don't need to do something.
No.
They don't. And I couldn't know what's up with them. But for me, the answer's
Same.
been in
Absolutely the same. I get the sadness piles up, and then I start doing that. Yeah, so porn, maybe drinking, not necessarily drugs. I've made a point of not having any numbers. I don't know anybody anymore. So I'm like, I don't have that. Oh, I'll just get a bit, or I'll do this, or I'll do that. It's normally a social thing now, and I'll be out and I go, do you want a bit of that? I go, yeah, go on, I'll have a bit. But it isn't even like, oh, I need some more now. It's like, oh, that was fun. I quite like that. But porn is the one. That's the one that keeps popping up at the minute, and you're like, right, I need to do something about that. But yeah, I let the sadness come in, I let it squash me, and then I go, well, there's no point in doing anything anyway. No one gives a shit. The amount of times I've nearly pulled the plug on this podcast because I thought, no one gives a fuck about this. But then someone will message me and go, mate, that episode saved my marriage. This did this, this did that. And you go, I'm being a prick. Get out of it. And yet, by going for a walk, going out, replying to a text, just by going, because I build it up, so I go, oh, shit, I've not replied to them. Now it's too late. Now I'm going to look like a dickhead. And then you go, but if you just go, I'm really sorry, mate. I'm really sorry. Look, I was just feeling this way. And then I build it up. If you just tell them what was going on, most people go, mate, I get it. You're a dickhead. Come on, let's go out.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. I've got one mate in particular, but there's a few actually in my life who I've just gone like, I've decided I will not be cross when I don't hear back from you.
Yeah.
You'll get to me. There's one in particular, right? And I love her to bits, and she's been a mate for such a long time, and she's only like fairly recently found happiness in a relationship. And whenever I hear from her, she very sweetly says, oh, I'm so sorry, I've been so shit about keeping in touch. I'm like, you're getting it done. Your life's online. For fuck's sake, forget about me. Because we will be mates and it'll be okay. And then there are other people I don't hear back from who I'm like, well, honestly, my guess is that relationship's probably fallen away now, and off it goes. But there's a weird, and I think quite a cool thing with comedians, where you go 4 or 5 years or something without having seen someone who you've once done a gig with. Maybe literally only once or twice, get in a dressing room with them, and it's not like old long lost buddies, but you're like, yeah, we're connected by all this, and the conversation is instant and joy. I mean, Christ, you and I don't know each other well. We've barely hung out. Like, had a lovely time on a mountainside, a couple of other gigs here and there. That's about it, you know.
But I'm always pleased to see you. I'm always pleased. Yeah,
I get you.
Pleased.
Yeah, likewise, man. Yeah. I watch your videos when you pop out for a walk. It's nuts. Man. I do. I love them. I find them really.
But you know what? Funny enough to say that, my mate, I've got a mate I've known all my life, and he's not in the industry. We've known each other since we were kids, tiny kids. And I always thought he was solid. He did the right, the right thing. Like, he left school, decent job, got married, had kids, and he's been through some shit, with whatever else. But I always thought he was rock solid. And from those videos, someone sent him one and went, "Look at this. Look what Richie's doing." And we WhatsApp each other film links and things like that. I've been seeing this movie's coming out, this program, this, that, and the other. And he messaged me and he went, "I just watched your video and I really need to talk to you." And we met up and walked along the South Bank, and he was telling me what he's been going through. And he's been going through some horror, like real shit, like really, there's self-harm involved, and and you're like, oh my God, I thought you were the solid one. So it just goes to show you just don't know unless you speak to each other. No. You just don't know. Yeah.
Exactly, man. Never compare your insides to other people's outsides. And like that was something I got told 30 something years ago, and I was like, oh yeah, that's good, that's helpful. And then the internet got invented, and it's more important now than ever before. Like, don't compare your experience even to people who've made it their mission that day to be honest about what they're going through. Right. So, your films, and you go out, go for a walk, talk about what's happening for you and all the rest of it. Even don't compare yourself to that, because you can easily go, oh, he's getting it right and I'm getting it wrong. And Just look at it and go, well, what do you see? What I see is people constantly looking for patterns and connection. Right, like, we're pattern seeking creatures. which makes the life of a comedian really bizarre because nothing's the same ever. We choose this like different, and yet, like give me a half regular job to do, and I'm happy as Larry. Give me a rehearsal room where I have to be there at the same time every day. I'm like, 9 to 5. But also, we're just looking for connection, and I know that's an tired old cliche, but people are looking for a means by which we can connect and compare with others. Yeah. That's it, isn't it? Like life's kind of quite simple, like that, really.
And I think it's.
I'm lucky, with my missus. We are the pandemic. Like we got married just before the pandemic came along, so this has been like an extended honeymoon. In that it's too long. We've overbooked. The breakfast buffet is out of control, and it's way too expensive. But like we have ended up just sort of like connecting with each other on a very brilliant and exciting level over the last year and a half, because it's just been us, and in so many ways I'm really grateful for it, really grateful for this time. It's been, I would not have chosen it, and if it's offered again I'll say no.
Exactly.
I'll definitely say no, man.
But you've got a baby on the way now as well. I mean, you're going to be a dad. You're going to be a dad
so
again.
Close, man.
A dad again.
So 19 years after almost 19 years after I became a dad, going round again, and we're now like 3 weeks away from the baby coming. I'm either rose tinting the hell out of this like an idiot would, or I'm genuinely just at a place in my life where I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, I've been tired before. It's all right. Bits of it are awful, and I don't doubt I will make some decisions when I'm very, very tired that I regret immediately and for months afterwards. They'll be all right as well, But mostly, genuinely, Rich, I'm so excited to meet this little person now. We've had an appalling time of it. We had a late stage pregnancy loss last year, which is a thing that a great many people go through, like people go through miscarriage, and a lot also go through like a late stage pregnancy loss, and it's horrendous. Like we had to deliver a child that we knew was dead, and that was at the height of the pandemic. So Rachel was in hospital on her own. I wasn't allowed in. Like she didn't do the delivery on her own. I was there for all of that. But so we've been through that experience, and thank goodness managed to get pregnant again. And it's just been a very intensely observed pregnancy because the problems that happened last time still exist. So we've been like, when people talk about gratitude to the NHS, like we're I'm not suggesting others don't feel it too, but like we're next level grateful, because there's like machinery that you get introduced to in the NHS, or not machinery, but like means of working in the NHS that you get introduced to that you mercifully don't have to imagine. And it's admin. All the people go, your layers of administration, all the managers and all the rest of it. Well, I tell you what, the managers who've overseen the structure that we fell into when our world came apart, like, God bless those people, man. They are amazing people. They're amazing. So we've been through this kind of wild and intense.
That must have been so traumatic
experience.
It's that I can't even begin to comprehend the feelings that Rachel must have gone through.
It's nuts, man. Like you can't. I was about to say there aren't words for it. It's not true. Like it's just a sadness that's so massive. It's just swallows you up completely. But it swallowed us both up together in the same way and at the same time, and so we just held each other really, really tight, literally physically and emotionally held each other really, really tight. We were very gentle in the period that followed, and got lots of help. Like the NHS provided someone for us to talk to, people who've been bereaved in pregnancy, and then you kind of get scooped up if you become pregnant again. you get scooped up into the same system as parents who are then dealing with a pregnancy that every day reminds you of like, this thing happened, you know. So, and we've been to the hospital so many times, man. We're like, oh, we're going in again. It's okay. It's fine. We're going in again. It's all right. It's fine. It's fine. Like in and out. But like, and that's what they've been like. And they've really looked after us. So yeah, we're 3 weeks away, and I feel like I just can't wait to meet the little guy. You know,
I think. Oh, you know already. Yeah. Oh man, you're gonna be.
Yeah.
I think because you've got a better understanding of the world. You're in a different place now. You're in a better, more chilled place. I think you're going to be spectacular as a dad. Not that you weren't before. Yeah,
I hope so, man. Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, what I think the most helpful thing I believe in at the moment as a parent is that it's a series of managed failures, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but in a positive way, that it's always a series of managed failures. So your best day out at the beach, the best one at the beach, incredible. Whole family's there, sun shining, bucket and spade. Everyone went for a swim and all the rest. Someone's still going to get a sandy butthole, right? So they just are, because that's what happens. And it's okay. Like, it's all right. As long as you don't, because it's a whole human being, isn't it? As long as you don't strive to make it perfect, then it will be okay, and just go like, some of this will be shit. Then it'll be all right. So I'm very excited about it.
It's going to be
very
great.
Excited, and you know, like, so happy with Rachel as well. You know, like, and can't wait to just be a parent with her. You know, with my 2 kids, who are just amazing people. Like, they're almost adults now. I was trying to be a comedian and super dad and middle class dad, meeting all of those expectations as well at the same time, and it was a little bit more than I could manage. But even that, like, you know, I got 2 happy, healthy kids who I love.
This is it. This is how you know. Like, my lads, my boys are 23 and 29, and I worried that I hadn't been a good enough dad, hadn't been around enough, and blah blah blah. And I remember saying to them one day, "I'm really sorry. I could have been better." And they both went, "What are you talking about? You were fine. You're you, and you did what you could, and you were fine." And it was a really nice moment. We all started crying. I'm like, I just thought I'd been shit. Yeah. No, you're the best dad ever. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't handle it. And then I hear them talking about what's gone on around the world, and they've got such a brilliant understanding of everything that's happening. And they're so grounded, and they've got their own opinions. They're grown-ups. And I'm like, oh, yeah, they're fine. They're fine. And like your kids are fine. Yeah. Exactly.
You know, it's not perfect. They've got their issues and their struggles. And the last year and a half's been, I think, for teenagers and people in their early 20s, I think it's been the worst. And they continue to be the overlooked and the sort of, they'll get through it by the government and others. So, you know, there's that. But yeah, my guys, like my 2 kids, my teenage kids, you know.
There you go.
That's
great. All you can ask for,
they're
man.
Great.
Right then. This has been great, Marcus. I know you got to shoot off. Been lovely.
So
mate.
lovely, man. So lovely. I do have to shoot off.
It's been a joy.
Pleasure. I'll see you around the track, man. Hopefully on a mountain somewhere.
Where can we find you online? Is there anything you want to plug, or is there anything you want to? We can find you.
Do you know what? I'm about to, like, everything's sort of tapering off now for the arrival of the baby, but I'll be out on, you know, I'll be out gigging around when I can, and I'll be out on tour next year, and Rachel's on tour later this year, so I'll be literally backstage with the baby going, that's all right, babe. Do you?
This has been wonderful, mate. Enjoy the rest of your day.
So lovely, pal.
Cheers, mate.
Take care.